What's up, everybody? Shannon Willis here. Are you ready to be maximized? You know, I am so excited about this new month. It is going to be absolutely incredible. You know, I was driving down the road and God began to speak to me about this month. And you know, what he began to pour out to me, I knew that I had to share it with you because I want you to be equally as excited about what God is going to do in this month. Now, I know you hear prophetic words all the time, and sometimes you see them come to pass, sometimes you don't. But listen, this is one that I know for a fact that God is really about to flourish in you. He's going to birth this through you. You're going to see some real manifestations in your life for this month. You know, as he began to speak to me, March is a month in which we are about to move to a strategic cadence. So we're about to move to a strategic cadence. You know, we've moved in the flow of God, but this month is strategic, you all. We're about to move to a strategic cadence of God. You know, that means there's going to be a rhythm and an ebb and a flow to this month of March, to which you and we're going to move in. You know, this is a boots to the ground kind of month. This is stride and step to the beat of heaven type month. I mean, we're talking about March is a movement. It is all about movement to the cadence of heaven. So, you know, we have to be very careful to listen. I love the way David wrote it all throughout the Psalms. He would say, incline your ear or slant your ear. That means you have to be careful to lean forward to hear, you know, intentionally what God is saying. That means that you and we have to be careful. We have to be intentional. We have to be deliberate, purposeful. We have to be instinctive to hear this sound of heaven. We have to really, literally, instinctively listen to the distinct sound of heaven. There's a very distinct sound that is coming in this month that if we are not like positioned or in the right posture, we'll miss it. Listen, we have to be deliberate in slanting our ear to hear what God is saying. Draw closer to him to hear. It will be a sound that we are to move with and move in. We got to synchronize our pace to what God is doing. See, March is a movement month. It's a momentum month. It's moving in the momentum to the cadence of heaven. You know, like David, you will hear the sound. You'll hear that sound in the rustling of the spiritual mulberry trees that will signal to you, that will signal to me a forward action. You know, this is exactly what God said to David in 2 Samuel chapter 5 verse 24. He said to him, he said, when you hear the sound of a going in the tops of the mulberry trees, that then you shall bestir yourself, for then shall the Lord go out before thee to smite the host of the Philistines. Listen, you know, it is believed by theologians and by Jewish rabbis that the sound of the rustling of the mulberry trees, that wind blowing on the tops of those trees, was actually the sound of the angels, the host of angels, the cherubims, those warring angels that were dancing on top of those mulberry trees, creating a wind or a stirring in the spirit. And not only that, but God himself, as the Lord Sabaoth, the captain of the angels, of armies of angels in heaven. You know, the Lord of hosts himself was there leading that army. And so they would go, that army would go before David, and they would go right in with them, and they would experience great victory. Listen, I believe that there's a stirring in the spirit. There's a stirring that is producing the wind of God, just like what David heard. There's a stirring that produces the wind of God, and we have to be able to hear that sound. We have to recognize it. We have to be cognizant of it. We have to be aware, ever so discerning, to hear that sound, so that we can move forward in victory, right behind God that is creating and trailblazing that new path. Listen, they heard it in the upper room. They heard the sound of a rushing wind, and that rushing wind brought forth the fire, and that fire changed their language, and it brought forth a new witness in them. Listen, I believe that we have to be ever so discerning. We have to be so intentional and deliberate, that we're slanting our ear to hear the stirring, to hear the sound of wind, to hear the rustling of the wind over the mulberry trees, to hear the sound of the rushing wind in the upper room, in the high place, so that we can move right behind God and experience victory, because he has gone before us and he continues to go before us even in such a month. And when we hear that sound, you know, the mulberry tree, wind rustling in the wind that over those trees, that signals a time of abundance. It signals a fulfillment. It signals great joy and peace. Listen, what I'm trying to tell you is that God is bringing that rustling wind. He's bringing forth that wind that is going to signal his abundance, that he's bringing forth in our lives. It's going to flourish us. It's going to prosper us. It's going to progress us. It's going to bring forth times of prophetic fulfillment. This month, God is going to allow us to hear as we lean closer, as we lean and slant our ears to hear, and we move in that cadence with heaven. We'll hear the sound of prophetic fulfillment. We'll hear and experience great joy and great peace. We'll experience the great love of God. We have to walk and move with God. You know, we've walked in this moment. We've moved with God in times past and we've reaped the benefit of it. But you know, it's the time now to incline our ear yet again, lest we end up like Joshua and the children of Israel, where they saw the walls of Jericho fall down and that once fortified city be destroyed and the walls come down. But then on the next level, the other end of the spectrum, they experience an AI where they lose the battle because they did not seek God for the strategy. Listen, the month of March is a very strategic month. If you notice, I keep saying listen, because in this month we have to slant and incline our ear to listen, to hear the strategic sound of heaven, the strategic sound of God, the cadence of God that's going to usher in this movement. We have to be ever so ready and ever so discerning to hear that sound, and then move to that cadence. See, David and his mighty men, they moved to the cadence of that wind. You know, that the bones in the valley that Ezekiel saw, the wind began to gather. First he prophesied to the bones, but then it was the wind that activated and the bones began to stand up erect, and they received that activation. They stood up as an exceeding great army. Listen, there are many of those that are listening in. You may have felt scattered, fractured, and fragmented, but as you hear the sound, things will come together in one accord, in unity and in harmony, and you begin to experience and encounter the sound of God. You'll begin to move in it. You'll begin to be activated. Oh, I feel this all in my body. You begin to move in it. I'm talking about you'll walk with regular and measured tread as soldiers, advancing in the step and in a heavenly orchestrated manner and demeanor. You're going to walk stately. You're going to walk in advancement in a deliberate manner. You're going to march, because march means proceed. It means progress. There is a shift in the pitch and tone in the declarations of heaven. There is a new cadence to the language of God that we must hear to advance and progress with the forward movement that God himself is ushering in. There is a rhythmic flow to the sounds that you will hear. There's a rhythmic flow to the sounds. There will be a rhythmic flow to the songs that will begin to be ushered in. New anthems and songs that will be ushered into the house of God. There's a new rhythm of words, heavenly terminology. There is a new rhythm of grace, a new rhythm of mercy that you're going to flow in, and a rhythm of prophetic utterances and releases and groans. And in order for us to cover the distance and close gaps, we have to find ourselves in lockstep with God. As he moves, so should we. So we should be so synchronized with God that every move he makes, we are able to emulate it in the earth. We're emulating the movements of heaven. So I want you to be encouraged by this. You know, as I was driving and God, was speaking to me, and he said, this is what this month is about. You're driving forward. I was not in reverse. I was driving forward. And so will you in this month. You're driving forward. There's forward movement. There's forward progress. There's forward action. You're you're moving forward. You're not looking in the rear view mirror of your past. You're not in reverse. You're not even in neutral. You're moving forward. So listen, I'm excited. I know that you are too. And we're going to keep moving together. We're going to move together as that exceeding great army to the cadence of heaven. This is a momentum month. So move in the sound of God. Move to the cadence. Synchronize your next moment and next movement with God. Make sure that you're moving in the right direction. And that's the direction of God. So that means you're going to have to draw closer to him. He said, draw nigh to me and I'll draw nigh to you. That means you're going to have to get closer to God than you've ever been in your life. In order to hear that sound, you have to get closer. So I can't wait to hear all that God does for you. I already told you it's going to be incredible. This is going to be a life-altering, life-shifting month for you. So get ready. It all depends on your ability to get closer to God. Get in lockstep with him, and you will not go astray. You will not miss this pivotal moment of your life. Oh my gosh, I love you. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Follow this channel if you don't already. Make sure you follow it. Make sure you check out all of the replays. Make sure you check this one out. Share it with someone, and don't forget to subscribe yet again. So I love you. I look forward to seeing you on Transform and Transcend Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget. Can't wait to see you. Until we meet again, I'm Shannon C. Willis, and you have been maximized.